Hello and welcome back to welcome to my channel. So the other day I posted a crochet tutorial for this little top-down sweater that I am currently wearing, and at the very end of the tutorial I added in a section where I explained how I did this surface crochet design across the front of the sweater, and that inspired me to make this video where I'm going to teach you in a little bit more of a detailed or slowed down manner how to do surface crochet. Essentially what you are doing here is just painting onto the crochet with your yarn, and the possibilities here are honestly endless. The type of surface crochet I do does require you to actually have access to the back of your project. I know that sometimes when people crochet stuffed animals, they want to be able to add that surface crochet as well, but if you can't reach the back of your project, this surface crochet is really not going to work for you. I focus mainly on wearables, so whenever I do surface crochet, I am able to access the back of my project. So let's go ahead and dive into the very first step, which is how to actually complete the surface crochet stitch. I'm going to first demonstrate how to do this surface crochet on a single crochet swatch because it is probably the easiest stitch to work into because you can very clearly see where each stitch is and they're all quite small and tight together. I'm going to go ahead and add a little design onto this crochet with this blue yarn here, and all I'm going to do is decide where I want this surface crochet to begin. So I'm going to start right in this little corner. I'm just going to insert my hook right into that stitch, right into the project. So I've inserted my hook right through the top of the square, and the hook is now at the bottom here. And I'm holding my yarn as I normally hold my yarn. I just hold it like this over my fingers, but however you hold your yarn to crochet, just go ahead and do that. And now I'm going to pick up the yarn like so, and I'm making sure I have a little bit of a tail here on this side. So I'm picking up the yarn, and I'm just going to pull my hook right back up. So now I have that blue yarn on my hook, and I've pulled it up to the top of our crochet, but I'm still holding that yarn underneath the crochet here. So now we're going to go ahead and create our first stitch. So I'm going to work this way, and you can really work in any direction you want. You can work in just a straight line by following the stitches along this row here, or you can work going up by following the stitches that go up here, or you can go diagonally, or you can just go into any stitch you want to and take it in any direction. But I'm just going to start by doing a straight line. So I'm going to insert my hook right into the next stitch here. So I'm inserting my hook right through the crochet. So as you can see, my hook is now on the back of the project, and I'm still holding this yarn back behind the project here. So I'm again going to scoop up that yarn. I'm going to pull it through this stitch and then also pull it through that loop. So we just did a slip stitch on the top of our crochet, and then I'm going to jump over to the next stitch like so. Again, my hook is now on the back of the yarn, and I'm going to pick up the yarn that I'm holding down here at the bottom or the back of the project. I'm going to pick it up and pull it through all of the loops, therefore completing another slip stitch. And again, I'm going to insert my hook right into the next stitch like so, pick up that yarn that I'm holding on the back of my project, and slip stitch. And after a little bit, it does become quite easy to just find that yarn on the back of your project. You don't have to turn your project over every single time and look for the yarn. You can just insert your hook right into the stitch, kind of feel around, and once you find that yarn that you're holding at the bottom of the project, just scoop it up and pull it to the front. Honestly, the hardest thing probably with surface crochet is keeping your tension even the entire time. You want to make sure that you're not keeping your tension very tight or pulling the stitches quite tight, because then the crochet bunches up like this and you'll have wrinkles in your project. But if you have it too loose, then these stitches here might not be as secure and they might snag easily or sort of pull and fall apart. So it really is about finding that happy medium, that even tension all the way throughout. And whatever tension you are using, you want to try to maintain that the entire project, so that way the stitches are even the entire way. That's probably the hardest part, at least for me, when it comes to surface crochet, is just keeping the tension nice and even. So now that I've completed this much of my row, I want to go ahead and start moving in a different direction. So I'm just going to kind of rotate my work, and I'm now going to work my way up. So when I work my way up, it is a little bit trickier to see where each stitch is because I'm not just working across where you can very clearly see every single stitch of the project. Instead, I'm just going to go sort of right in between the posts of the single crochet and slip stitch, and then I'm going to go right into the next stitch, right into the post, and slip stitch. And so I'm just going right into these empty spaces between the single crochet stitches, and I'm still just doing that little surface crochet. Because all the stitches are so close together, they are really easy to work into. So if you're just starting out and learning surface crochet, I would recommend practicing on a single crochet swatch before jumping into any other crochet stitch. You can take this yarn really in any direction that you want and create straight lines or just wiggly little shapes. You can honestly do whatever you want with this. Like as you can see here, I've got straight lines, and then here I've got a bit more of a free form, just wiggly shape there. So you just insert your hook into whatever stitch is next in whatever direction you want to go, and then feel for that yarn that you're holding at the back of the project, scoop it up, and pull it through the loop on your hook. So that is how you're going to complete a surface crochet. And now I want to show you exactly how you're going to go about doing this also on double crochet. So here I have my little swatch of double crochet, and surface crocheting onto double crochet is not that different as when we did it on single crochet, but I still want to show you the couple things you want to do differently. So again, I'm just going to pick one of these stitches, and I'm just going to insert my hook right into whatever stitch I want to start on. And then going to the back of my project, I'm scooping up that yarn which I'm holding beneath my project. So I'm scooping it up like so, and then I'm going to go into the next stitch here. So I'm going into that next stitch, again at the back of the project, I'm scooping up the yarn, pulling it through that stitch and through the loop on my hook, therefore completing a slip stitch. So this is no different than surface crocheting into single crochet. We have this little line here, but now if I turn my work and I want to work up this way, a double crochet stitch is taller than a single crochet stitch, and it isn't as easy to just insert your hook into the next stitch and continue on. Instead, when you're working up across the height of a double crochet stitch, we need to place 2 surface crochet stitches into every 1 double crochet stitch. And if by chance you are surface crocheting into a treble crochet stitch, you would then place 3 surface crochets into each treble crochet stitch. So when you look at a double crochet stitch, we have this sort of post here that makes up the stitch, and we have the bottom and the top of the post. So I'm going to insert my hook right into the bottom of that post, and then again going to the back of my project here, I'm going to scoop up that yarn, and I'm pulling it through both the crochet and the loop on my hook like so. So that's our first surface crochet completed. And now going back to that exact same double crochet stitch, I'm now going to the top of the post. I'm going to insert my hook right into the top of that double crochet post. And again, I'm scooping up the yarn that I'm holding beneath the project and pulling it through the loop on my hook. So therefore we completed 2 surface crochets on just that 1 double crochet. So then going to the next one here, again, the double crochet is made up of 1 tall post here. So I'm going to insert my hook into the bottom of the post, and then scoop up that yarn and slip stitch, and then insert my hook right into the top of the post, and then scoop up that yarn and slip stitch like so. So one more time into this next double crochet stitch. We have that very tall post there, and so we want to place 2 surface crochets into every post of the double crochet. So I'm inserting my hook right into the bottom of the post and slip stitch, and then I'm going to insert my hook right into the top of that same post and slip stitch. So we have 2 of these surface crochet stitches for every 1 double crochet stitch. When you're going up the height of the double crochet, you want to do 2 stitches for each 1 double crochet, but when you're working horizontally, you're just going to place 1 surface crochet into every single stitch. In this video, I'm going to stick with just showing you how to do surface crochet on both single and double crochet stitches, because those are the most common stitches used when making wearables, but you can take these same instructions and apply it to other stitches like the treble crochet stitch or other detailed stitches. So if I wanted to have a more detailed design or a very specific shape on my crochet, what I do is I just take a piece of chalk, or you could also use a fabric pen, just anything that you can sort of wash off after you're done working with it, and I just sort of lightly sketch out where I want this design to go. And I'm just going to draw a heart here like so. So here I have my little heart shape drawn out. So when you're drawing your little sketch out, do keep in mind that you need to actually place your hook in each stitch, so your sketch should sort of line up with those stitches. So now I can just surface crochet following this little sketch that I just made. So I'm going to insert my hook right into the bottom of the heart here, and then scoop up my yarn like so. And then I am simply going to surface crochet into each of these stitches that I have sort of drawn the shape on top of. Okay, so I just whipped this up really quickly, so it is a little bit rough looking, but here is that simple heart shape that we have now made with the surface crochet. And as you can see, the chalk is well covered by the crochet stitches. So if you want to, you could go back in with a steamer, or you can just throw this in the wash to help wash off any chalk or evidence of the sketches. And you can just use that as a nice guide to be able to draw out really any shapes that you want to onto your crochet pieces. Typically, when you are doing surface crochet, I would say just to use the exact same weight and same type of yarn as you used for the base project. If you use quite chunky yarn, the design is going to pop a lot more and take up a lot more space in the design. If you use a very thin yarn, it'll be much more dainty, but you will also be able to see the color of the yarn underneath sort of poking through your stitches more. So you definitely can have fun with it and play around with different types of yarn. But if you are looking for just a simple surface crochet, then I would use the exact same kind of yarn as you used for the base crochet project. I decided to film the process of me adding this design to the front of the sweater and sort of explaining how I decide on the placement, as well as how I added some of these extra colors to the design. I'm going to show you that footage now. That way you can kind of get a general idea of how to take the surface crochet method and actually implement it onto your crochet wearables. I just finished crocheting this little top-down sweater, and although I do think it is really cute, the front of it is kind of bland and I want to add a bit of a pop of color. So I'm going to add a surface crochet design right to the front of the sweater. And when I am placing surface crochet on any kind of wearable piece, I do make sure I actually try it on and that I am actively wearing the crochet when I mark where I want the surface crochet to be. Because if you do the surface crochet and you mark where you want it to be when your piece is lying flat, it's really easy to get the placement wrong. So I have some bobby pins here. You could use stitch markers or whatever you have on hand. And I'm just going to sort of roughly estimate where I want each corner of the box to go. And I'm not worrying about making it perfectly even, because when I'm actually done marking this, I will then go back in and make sure that it's all evenly spaced. I have a bobby pin down here for these bottom corners and then 2 bobby pins up here for these top corners. So then I would be creating a box like this if I work between all of those bobby pins or stitch markers. So now that I have it roughly marked while it's actually on my body and I can see the way it's going to fit, now I can take it off and then actually get the count correct and make sure it's all evenly spaced, and then I can begin adding that surface crochet to my design. I am laying my sweater out flat, and now you can see here where I have the bobby pins where I marked the corners for the square or the rectangle we're putting across the front of the sweater. And I'm just going to now take a second to make sure it's all evenly lined up. So I'm first making sure that the bobby pins are on the same height. So I'm making sure they're on the exact same row across like so. And then I'm going to count and make sure they're the same number of stitches away from this little line here that indicates the start of the sleeve. So I'm first going to count from here. So here we have 6 stitches away from the sleeve is this first bobby pin, and then on this side is another 6 stitches. So these are perfectly lined up, and then I'm going to go down and sort of do the same thing down here, where I'm going to make sure that they're on the exact same row. So if I follow along this row, both bobby pins are in the exact same row here. The number of stitches between these 2 bobby pins should equal the same number of stitches between these 2 bobby pins as well. So there are exactly 17 stitches between these 2 bobby pins and 17 stitches between these 2 bobby pins. So this is now perfectly lined up and we have each corner of our square marked. So now I'm going to go ahead and begin surface crocheting. So I will be surface crocheting with this yellow yarn here, which is weight 4 yarn, which is the exact same weight of yarn that we made the sweater out of. And I'm going to take this hand that has the yarn and I'm going to put it underneath the sweater. So I have the yarn now underneath the sweater, and now right into this stitch that we have marked, I'm going to just remove that bobby pin. I'm going to insert my hook right into that double crochet. I'm going to pick up the yarn that I have that I'm holding underneath my sweater and pull it right through that stitch like so. I have now slip stitched all the way around from the very start here and created this entire rectangle going all the way across the front here, and we have each corner perfectly lined up in the same distance apart. So now I'm going to go ahead and cast off, and the way I cast off here is I go underneath my project where I have that yarn. This here is my tail where I started, and then this is the yarn that we currently are working with. And I just cut my yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail. So I have some extra yarn there, and I cut my yarn, and then I pull my hook like so and tug on that yarn to lock it in place. And now currently we have the loose end on the front of the sweater, which we don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my hook here, and I'm going to place it underneath the sweater like so, And I'm going to insert my hook right in between that first surface crochet stitch that we made, right there. So we have both sides of the stitch on either side of my hook. I'm then going to scoop up this loose tail, and I'm just going to pull it through like so. So that makes the edges really nice and clean, where this is now seamlessly attached to the rest of it. You can't really see where we start or ended the square. And then it also brings the loose end to the back here, where we can then weave these in. So now that I have my square perfectly mapped out here and it's all evenly spaced apart, I am now just going to take some orange yarn, and I'll probably use some more of this yellow yarn, and I'm going to do that exact same thing with the surface crochet, only instead of following a distinct line, I'm just going to go all over the place and just create little swirly sort of free-form designs inside of this square. I also just wanted to show you quickly exactly how I go about doing two different colors here with the surface crochet. So I already did this little spiral where I just kind of free-form crochet, just went along these stitches with the yellow yarn. The stitches are just a little bit on the looser or the bigger side. So I'm going to then pick up my next color, which I'm going to use this darker orange, and I'm going to cast on right inside of that first stitch. So right in this first stitch here where we started that yellow spiral, I'm going to insert my hook right inside of that stitch. So in between both of the loops there, I've inserted my hook, and then I'm going to cast on with that second color. So just as I've demonstrated before, I have my yarn just right under the sweater there, and I'm pulling it up here. And now for the next stitch, I'm again going to go inside of that stitch we made before. So this next surface crochet, I'm going right in between both loops of that stitch, picking up my yarn, and then slip stitching. So I'm placing another surface crochet stitch on top of or in between the surface crochet stitches we've already placed. So again, I'm going to go into the next stitch, and I'm going right between those two loops of yarn there of that yellow surface crochet stitch. I'm going to scoop up my orange yarn, pull it up, and slip stitch. So then I will just follow that exact same process, just inserting my hook in between all of these stitches, following the exact same sort of spiral pattern I've already placed, and that is exactly how I work with two different colors in the exact same design. I hope that you found this video to be helpful, and if you have any questions at all, then feel free to leave those in the comments and I'll do my very best to get back to you. And if you wanted to make this sweater for yourself, either with or without the design on the front, I will have the full tutorial for it linked in the description down below. You can also find a plethora of crochet tutorials here on my channel if you are interested in crocheting anything else. Otherwise, I will see you again very soon with another video. I hope you have a wonderful couple of days until I post again. Goodbye.